From Been There, Got Out, and tonight's guest, we're welcoming back our good friend, Rebecca Ishida. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist, among other things. I think she also specializes in addiction and several things that she'll talk about. But she's been on here before, and she always promises to be a very energetic interviewee. So let me see if she's there. She is. Okay, Rebecca, I see you. I'm sure this is going to work. And I haven't seen Rebecca in a little while, so this should be fun. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
So good. It's been too long. I cannot believe this.
I know. And before we even start, I know we missed each other last year, but we're going to be in LA in July. So
I saw, and I need to come.
Yeah.
What is that? What day is it? I need to write everything down.
It's going to be July 20th through 23rd, but I'll
Okay.
get the details later. But yes.
Great. And I'd love to see you, and maybe also just we can do something social too. So.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We're not all about business, even though that's all we talk about.
We're friends. I was just saying I want to come to the book thing, but I also want to see you socially. So.
Yes, we will definitely do. We will not miss each other. We will exchange contact information ahead of time.
Yes. Awesome. Yay. I'm so glad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Rebecca, I was telling one of our clients earlier that we were doing an Instagram live stream. She goes, oh, great. She's one of my favorites. I can't miss this one.
Oh, good.
So if not just for her, for everyone else, I was like, I know this is going to be great. And the client that I was talking to, and I told her the topic, she said, oh, good, that's my topic. I was like, actually, there were several people that said that they want to talk about this topic. Before we even say what the topic is,
yes.
Why don't you introduce yourself for all the people who don't already know who you are?
Okay, I'm Rebecca Ishida. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Los Angeles. I specialize in narcissistic abuse, and I work a lot with trauma and childhood trauma, and I'm EMDR trained, and I'm also getting certified in sex therapy. So that's I don't know if you knew that, but yeah.
I did. I was like, I know it's something with sex, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yes. So that's been a really a fun process so far, and I'm looking forward to it because I do so much couples work that it really, sex comes up a lot, of course, in therapy, and I really enjoy it. It's really great. Yeah.
Fine. Okay. So, and you forgot to mention your side gig as a comedian.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yes, and I also do stand-up comedy. So I'm going to be at the Comedy Store. When is it? Oh my gosh, June 9th. June 9th. I'll be at the Comedy Store. So that's
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about something that's not very funny, though I'm sure we'll probably find some humor in it, even though it's awful, and that is betrayal trauma, but specifically in terms of friendship, and especially in terms of these awful transition times when you think these are my people and then they're not. So why don't you talk a little bit about what is betrayal trauma?
So betrayal trauma is basically being injured or wounded in an emotional way by people that you trust. That's the thing. They're not people that are enemies. Right. These are people that you emotionally count on, that are going to be there for you. And in the way that we're talking about it, what we might see are people that basically, when you get a divorce, they choose sides. And so you're surprised, especially if you're going through a traumatic relationship and you're going through narcissistic abuse, is when you see someone who you felt like was your friend or had your back take the side of essentially your abuser. So it's incredibly painful. It can actually make you sometimes even doubt your own experience, which we see happen as well. So, we get gaslighted in our relationship, but then we also experience gaslighting with friends, or flying monkeys, enablers, whatever we want to call them. And it's incredibly painful. And it's really hard to, because we need our friends when we're going through these things. I imagine you needed your friends. I know I needed friends. I felt so devastated when I was going through my divorce, and also in breakups from narcissists, because yes, I've been with more than one. And so, you know, you lean on your friends for that support. And when they betray you, it's like another betrayal on top of it, right? It's like, you know, we depend on these people for our emotional survival, and then they let us down. It's incredibly painful.
I'm thinking, when you say people take sides, what we see a lot of is people who say, even like your closest friends, you know what, I don't want to take
Right.
sides. I want to stay out of the conflict and not get involved. But to me, that's kind of taking a side. What do you think about that?
I definitely think that is true. I think that because I think what it ties into is this idea that we think about. Sorry, my dog goes crazy when someone goes by. What we think of oftentimes in relationship is this idea that things are 50-50. It takes two to tango. All these sort of things that do not apply to abusive relationships. So when somebody then does that as a friend and says, well, I don't want to take sides because, you know, there are two sides to every story and things like that, then you do feel like it is not just even a lack of support. It is like taking a side, because it's like they don't get it, right? And so many people don't. And I think that's why people like you and I go into what we do for work, is because if you haven't experienced this kind of abuse, you often don't get it at all, and you don't understand. And so we get what that is like. So it can feel like a betrayal, because, and that they are taking that side because it's like, no, hands off. You know, I don't want to say anything, or they've been so nice to me, I don't see that side of them, which you often hear a lot of. But basically, that is what happens with people like this, because they know how to compartmentalize, right? Jenny says over here, gets it. They don't. And so, you know, you start to, what you end up seeing in your friends is how they are duped by the narcissist in the same way that you were, because they show that good side to other people. And so people cannot believe, wait a second, did they really do that? Could they really, you know, that? So it's an incredibly painful process, and you can feel so alone and isolated.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to, you know, it took me about 2 years from the moment I knew the relationship was over to actually tell my family. There were 3 friends that I confided in, and they didn't have any experience with this. I didn't know what I was dealing with. But I remember with a group of friends that I'd had since my oldest child was born, he's 23, when I told one of them, who is not the most emotionally sensitive person anyway, so I shouldn't have been surprised. But we had done a lot of things as couples together when the kids were little, and gone to each other's houses for dinners and things. And the first thing she said was, I can't believe I'm never going to see him again. I can't believe we're not. And I was like,
oh my God. Well, you know, I mean, right there, that narcissistic trait you saw in your friend. I mean, not that I'm not saying they are one, but I'm just saying that became all about them. Like, it was just so
yeah, I didn't even know what to say. Like, do you want me to comfort you? Like did you hear what I just told you why we're getting a divorce, and this is the first thing out of your mouth. And I just felt like I can't talk to people about this, because if I get more reactions like this, I'm going to feel terrible. I'm just going to feel so isolated, and I'm going to feel like nobody's going to want to spend time with me because I was such a part of a couple. So if I'm not a couple,
right? And
that's how she says that unit. Like, what do I have?
I'm so curious too. Why did it take you 2 years? I'm curious about that.
Okay, so that's a good question. So, you know, Rebecca, you and I have done interviews before about lying by omission.
Yes.
So, and that you're the one who taught me that, and that was why I instantly connected with you, because I was like, this is my life. You named it. So my ex had a double life, and when I started discovering things 2 years before I actually got him out, it was like, this is so astonishing. let me try to save it. I don't want to tell anybody like family, because if there's a way to change it or a way to fix it, they're never going to forgive him, even though I can, because of the details of the situation. And I also thought, I don't want to, I'd seen other people act quickly with kids and make mistakes with divorcing. And so I thought I need to really plan my exit carefully, because I was very rooted in my community. My kids are really rooted, my job, everything. So it was like, I can't just flee. I need to be very stealthy about it. So I'm only going to tell a couple of people. And one of them was an ex-addict. And so she was very understanding towards him. And she kept saying, give him more chances. The other was like trying to support me. Another one was like, I don't even know what to do with this. But I thought, I don't want to tell family, because family it'll be probably a lot longer than these friendships. I was trying to do everything as right as I could. So I took my time and did a lot of growing up in the process too.
Yeah.
Because the reason he also kept me in the relationship was, if you divorce me, like, you're going to be responsible for destroying our family. So that kept me in it for a while. And I'm like, the hope is what destroys you.
Yes. And I think also there's a bit of a setup that they do during the relationship too, right? Where they isolate you to such a degree, and you become quiet about what's going on because you don't want people to think badly of them. And then you also sort of are trying to figure out yourself what the hell's even going on. So I think once you're out of the relationship too, sometimes if you haven't even talked about it very much, then people are also like, sort of sit there going, what? Why didn't you say anything? That kind of
all the time. All the time. Like, they couldn't have done anything about it. But, when you're still in it, you cannot be, like, the denial and everything else, you can't deal with it. And
dissonance is so strong, right? Relationships are so not black and white, right? You're always, you could have the worst narcissist ever, the worst toxic relationship, but I'm going to bet with every one of those, there's something that you like about it, so there's always that thing that keeps you in it. It's typically never all bad, and even if it does get to the point of being all bad, you already have the stuff that was good peppered throughout, which helps with your cognitive dissonance. It's like, oh, but that thing was good before, or they were better before, and it kind of pulls you back in. And a lot of that good is what your friends have seen,
Exactly.
And so you're like, when he did that, or he seemed like such a good dad, and he was so nice to us, or he cooked us great meals, and they don't, because I had friends do the same with one of my exes. They were like, oh, we really liked him.
Oh,
I'll be able to out together anymore. And it's like,
see,
really? Are you kidding? I felt so devastated by that lack of support. It was very painful.
And that's the thing. And I think also because there's so much shame associated with it, like, a lot of our people and us, we are very successful in a number of other areas of our lives. And so to confess that this has been going on, and they're like, how could you have let that go on? You, of all people, like, you're a lawyer, you're so smart, and like, how could you have been so stupid and weak to have put up with this?
I mean, I was a therapist during my whole, marriage, you know what I mean? Is that right? Yeah. Like, I was studying, and then I was licensed, and I was actually working in the field of compulsive sexual behavior. Right. And that wasn't his thing. He was always like too stoned to probably have sex with other people, is what I think is the only reason. That's part of my company. It's like lazy. So I don't think that was the thing that was going on. But the thing that I realized by being in the field of compulsive sexual behavior is the intersection of narcissism and compulsive sexual behavior, and how much it is oftentimes hand in hand, or what people would call sexual narcissism. And you see that so much. And so it was really a weird thing for me to be in a relationship where that was going on, not the sex part, but the narcissism and the emotional abuse and the verbal abuse and all of that. And then here I am in this, running these groups for people who are, trying to get better, but regardless, like, it just felt like such like a mind fuck, you know. It was like, what is happening? Like, you know, but still, you know, we're human, and it's very different being objective and subjective.
Yeah, and that's the thing with friends too, is friends see you a certain way, and then to come to certain friends and say this is going on, they don't believe it. They don't want to believe it.
Right.
You know, talk about like the cognitive dissonance. I'm thinking I shouldn't get into all the court stuff, but it's so parallel. Like people, when they hear you're in court for stuff, they cannot understand legal. They can't understand that a justice system could be so unfair. And so similarly in these relationships, when you've been with someone for a long time that's presented very well
Right.
to the public, they're just like that person can't be that bad. It
Right.
can't be because I haven't seen it. You know, you were with this person for so long. A friend of mine who I went to dinner with last night, he used to drive me crazy. He would say, your husband, he loved you. I know or even during the time it was bad, he's like, he loves you so much. He loves your kids. Oh, he was such a good father because your son got lost in the library sometime. And I remember he seemed like he cared so much. I'm like, look at what's happened in the past 9 years. Like I don't know what he was doing, but that's not love. That was presenting a certain way for you all to believe that. Right. But somebody who's behaved this way for the past 9 years, like it's not like they suddenly love their kids, or they always love their kids and they suddenly just stop loving them. Right. That's not how love works.
Right.
But
yes.
You can't, like my friend cannot fathom. And also there's ego involved with certain friends where they're like, because my particular friend, he's like, I'm such a good judge of character.
Right.
I can't be wrong. I thought he really, really cared.
Yes.
So I believe you, but I kind of am not sure that you could be telling the truth about it all, because how could somebody be like that? And the big thing, Rebecca, I don't know if people have said this to you, is like, how could someone not love their kid?
Yo, yeah.
That's not possible.
Yeah, that's a big one for me. That, like what you just said, I hit a nerve because, you know, my ex-husband hasn't seen his kids for almost 7 years, hasn't seen them. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is mind-blowing. You think, you know, God, how I do say to myself sometimes, like, wow, like, how did I choose someone like, I mean, I do ask myself that, you know, I chose. And, you know, what you see at the beginning of the relationship, I think this goes for toxic relationships and healthy relationships alike, or healthy-ish relationships, because I don't know a lot of healthy relationships, let's be honest. I mean, you know, I'm just in reality about that. I think it should be simple. It's not, right? But is that what you see at the beginning of a relationship that is concerning? I wouldn't say red flag necessarily, but like, oh, that's kind of like, those are the things that oftentimes will be the ending of the relationship, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, in the beginning for me, it was like my ex-husband, he drank too much, you know, he had like a lot of issues around money, and he had an anger problem. And those were all the things that ended the relationship. They were just, the volume just was way up at that point. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm an alcoholic, and I, you know, squandered all this money, and then also, like, I'm rageful and abusive. So, you know, everything was just ramped up. And if there's not intervention along the way, or self-awareness or accountability, that person isn't going to get better. They're just, you know, it's not going to happen. Yeah,
that's so interesting what you said about the things at the beginning of the relationship that are like kind of some sort of doesn't feel right is what ends the relationship. Because I was thinking in mind, I mean, there were several things, but computer and secrecy, secrecy surrounding the internet. It was like, yeah, Lisa, you don't understand technology. That's my job. I need to go online for people that understand me. And then at the end, it was like, oh, you had a whole other thing going on. Like, it wasn't just a little dabbling here and there. It was like a whole other.
Right. Yeah. No, and I think what happens too with friends, I don't know if you experience this, but it's not only like the doubt that they have that this person could have done these things, but then it goes to doubting you.
Exactly.
And saying, what?
That's the trauma part. That's the betrayal. Is like, you've been one of my best friends for
Right.
years. And how could yeah,
Right. So
like
that
someone that you confided in.
exactly. And that your friends start to doubt you and maybe your character, or start to wonder, well, I don't really see that in him. So maybe Rebecca's got something that's wrong. You know what I mean? They start to doubt you. And that feels like so wounding, so incredibly painful. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let me ask you about another thing that I noticed in a particular friendship of mine. So I had a very close friend, and during those 2 years, she was one of the ones that I confided in, and then during that period, and shortly after, like maybe the first year or so, I felt like she kind of, on some level, found satisfaction in my pain because she could be the helper.
Oh.
So she was like, she could be like the listener. Actually, it's more than one person now that I'm thinking about it. Like they could be like the helper, and like, because in a lot of ways I was like this very strong person, and then I was kind of broken.
Right.
At the end of that long-term relationship, that was half my life. I was like, I don't know what's going on. And, all this stuff started coming out. And so it was like, oh, Lisa needs help. Like, let's take care of her. But as I started healing, it was almost like they didn't really want me to be happy. Like they never would have said it. I don't think it was conscious, but the role of like, I need to be there to take care of you. And then when you're happy, like, I don't know what to do with myself anymore.
Right. And I think when that happens too, I think what it would signal to me, or it signaled to me when things like that kind of happened, is stuff that was maybe going on in our friendship to even begin with, right? That maybe maybe that friend, for instance, had a thing about codependency, or saw
you got it. You hit the nail on that. That was it. Like that own relationship, that wasn't good. And so that was like, we could compare, but there were things better. And then I started moving onward and upward, and it was like, oh, we're not both in the hole.
Yes. And people, and sometimes it's like misery loves company, like sometimes people, that's one thing that I don't like love, that I see a lot of, like you can see a lot with women, which is we really should be lifting each other up and inspiring each other and having each other's back. And I don't think that happens enough in the world. It just doesn't, I mean, of course I'm saying something very strictly gender right now, but I want to include all, I'm very inclusive of gender, but when I'm thinking about this particular thing, when I think of like the patriarchy and, I sometimes don't feel like we have, sometimes it's hard for people, or certain women, to like really like feel like good for you and like go, and I feel like we need more of that, and I think that sometimes we tend to the sick. Oh, you're sick, you're wounded, let me take care of you. And we can see that a lot of times with abusive people or people that are toxic. They like when you're down because they're in power and control.
Exactly. Exactly. It's almost like it's a confidence issue where there's so many people who have such low confidence that when somebody else is achieving or happy in something, there's envy.
Yes.
And so
think about like there being like less for you. Like it doesn't, like if I'm doing really well, it doesn't mean you can't do really well. It's like we can both do well, but I think that that's, and I don't know where, that could also come from an idea of just like the idea of like there being like love or success is like a pie, and people get a sliver of it or a piece of it, and then there's less for you, but it's limitless, right? We can have limitless love. I don't really believe in the unconditional love thing, though, just so you know. Unconditional love,
no, me neither.
Pets and kids, and that's about it.
Right.
I do not think there should be unconditional love with romantic partners. I don't think there should be. I think if you're treating me like shit, I think that I should get away from this. That's what I want. I don't think you can love someone and still not be with them, right? But love isn't enough either. Right. But
no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I think our society romanticizes unconditional love, and that keeps people in these terrible situations sometimes.
Right. And I mean, I think that that's a lot of what I think is also put out there in the world, is this idea. And look, I think like those quick fixes or the ideas of like, oh, you know, get yourself healthy, have good friends, and do all this, and you know, fix your attachment style and all that, and guess what, you're gonna attract the right person into your life. I think that's bullshit. I really do. I mean, look, there are a lot of toxic people out there. You should be the best person you can be. You should be like that, and be the healthiest person you can be, and hopefully that you align with someone who's also healthy and working on themselves and evolving. But it doesn't always happen. That's the truth. I mean, and I don't think that I don't think that shit sells, but that's true. I mean, it's like so there are a lot of creators that are like, oh, notice your trauma, blah blah blah, and in this one weekend, you know, you're going to be good. That's also not true. I mean, working on yourself and recovering, it's an ongoing process, you know.
It takes a long time. I mean, one of the things we see, which I'm sure you do as well, is like, even when people get out of the relationship, their ex's voice stays in their head.
Yes.
That's how it is with emotional abuse. So you can have, I mean, I'm happily in my relationship with Chris, but my ex's voice is still in my head.
Yeah.
Even for years, there's issues that I'm going to have to deal with maybe forever. Maybe it's not just because of my ex, maybe it's because of my childhood, but it's not like everything is all better when you meet someone else.
Right.
It's, you know, there's things that people work on their whole lives or have to deal with their whole lives.
Yes. Yes. And somebody said here about, how do I do? Oh yeah. Being in love doesn't mean bearing pain. Yeah, definitely. Like that, you know, I mean, I think there is an idea, and you can see this all across, like with movies and everything, this idea of like that, you know, like this struggle and, you know, it's like, it shouldn't be that way. I mean, like, you know, intensity doesn't equal love, right? You know, I think that a lot of times intensity can also be toxic, you know? So it doesn't,
yeah,
that's like a love thing. Yeah. But I do think that when you have this betrayal trauma with friends, the hope is that you can also do the same thing with them that you've done with exes. If someone has truly betrayed you, you need to go out, no contact with them too. And that's really hard, because sometimes that the no contact, maybe it's your family, maybe it's a best friend for 17 years, you know, or maybe you take space, like, here, you know what, if you want to get where I'm coming from, go read Psychopath Free and check it later. You know what I mean? Make a suggestion. If they don't want to do it, they want to do it. But I think part of this is also the process of learning how to let go of people is very hard. And that's, I think, a very important thing in this recovery is understanding that not everyone is going to be a forever in your life. You know, even friends that you were best friends with from preschool, like they may not be a forever person, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, it is really hard. Like every time a friendship ends for me, no matter what, and I don't have like the scorched earth stuff, just with my ex-husband, really. but things have ended, and I always feel like it's a failure. You know, like, but even when I recognize like I'm not getting anything from the friendship anymore, or this person isn't valuing me, or it kind of makes me feel sad, whatever it is, I still feel like, oh, I should have tried to keep it forever, even though I know in my brain like it's not.
But you know what, I think that's a little bit of too, because I know that I'm sure some maybe people that are on the live too have experienced, is like, it's that whole sunk cost fallacy. We experience it with our ex-partners. We also experience it with friends, this idea of we've put so much into something, we've invested so deeply in something, and maybe it's been time, energy, love, maybe money, all these things, that the idea of not having that, it's like, but I've made this investment, and so right? And it's a painful thing to also know that you sometimes have to let those things go, that maybe the investments paid out, like the dividends or whatever we call them. I'm not really good with financial words.
But no, we all get it. We all get it.
Paid out. Like, you got what you got from it, and it's done. And that's a very hard thing, I think, to arrive at, to get
Did you call that the sunk cost fallacy?
Yes, it's called the sunk fallacy. Yeah.
Ooh, another new label. I love that.
I mean, that happens too. Like, when I think about like my ex-husband, I was married for 16 years. We had a house, we have kids. So when you think about all the things that come with a relationship and the memories, right? and money and all of that, all of those things get stacked, stacked, stacked. That's why when you're further in, I think it's sometimes it's harder to get out, because there are more things that that attach you, that connect you. And that even if the connection feels shitty by that time, it's still like, I've invested so much, I can't, and that's what happened with an ex I had. God, I don't even know if I told you about him. Oh my God. Well, that was a crazy story. I mean, I don't know what these people are going to think about me when I tell you this, but
no, we love your stories, Rebecca.
Crazy story. And you're going to be like, Rebecca, really? Like what? So I was, dating apps, whatever. It's like, yeah, that's not how I met my ex-husband, but I've been on, dating app. I was on and off dating apps for a decade. Right now I am dating somebody and he's great. So thankfully.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's great. He's British and he's funny. The funniest person I've ever met. Very lovely.
That is okay. Just pause for a second. Funny people are amazing. Laughter. For me, I was like, this is like with Chris, he's really funny. And I'm just like, this is the best gift ever. Somebody that makes you laugh is so necessary.
Yes, totally think laughter is the best thing. Yeah. But this person, wasn't that funny, but regardless, it doesn't matter. The point is this guy, I met him on Bumble. And so you think available, right? And we really liked each other, started talking. And then what happened was, before we met for our first date, he said, listen, I got to be honest with you about something. And at the time I was dating a couple other people, because that's what you need to do. Volume date, especially if you're anxiously attached, you better not put your eggs in one basket. So, but I liked him the best out of the other ones. Anyway, that's funny. So he said, I just got to tell you, I told you I'm separated, and that happens a lot. Like, I'm in my 50s, so I'm not waiting for someone to have divorce. Like, I don't need that, because we know it, like, divorce, you can be like separated for years, whatever. So I don't care about that. But what he told me was he lived with her.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is where you go, Rebecca, are you an idiot? But anyway. I just think it's so funny.
No, remember, I'm a high conflict divorce coach. We hear everything. We don't blame.
So he said he's living with her, and she was living, and his mother-in-law lived there. So he had a house, and the mother-in-law and the wife lived in this like guest house. And he basically said that she was a narcissist and all that, and like therapists had said it and whatever. Fantastic if one day he watches this. Anyway, so they said all this stuff, and because I was a therapist and a caretaker, I was like, I'm like, listen, and I was dating, I'm like, it's fine, it's you're done, so who cares, right? Well, she ended up moving from the back house into the master bedroom, and he went into another room, which she did. I don't
wait. So she moved out, and then she moved back in.
Because her mom and her got in a fight. They got in a fight. They got in a fight. So she moved back into the master bedroom, which of course, once again, she took the master bedroom. This guy was a wimp, but whatever. So she got, and he went somewhere else, and into the office, and they had 2 kids. And I did not feel great about this, obviously, but it was always like very clear, like they were done, is what I was told. And then about 5 months in, he told the kids, he had told her finally, because it took him a while. There was a sign, though, I should have gotten out earlier, obviously. As you can see, I should have been like, let me know when you're not living together. But I didn't do that. One day I said, well, what if she just walked into the family room? He wanted to get back with you. I mean, I thought that was pretty funny. But basically, he said, she doesn't want to get back with me. And I said, wrong answer. The answer should be, I don't want to be with her. Right. So wrong answer. And that should have been my exit sign. Okay. I hope I'm teaching anyone else here not to do this. Don't ever go out with a guy that's living with his wife. That's what I learned here. Very expensive lesson. But anyway, emotionally expensive. So 5 months in, he told her, and what did she do? Got right to work to just separate us, right? Later, he calls me, hey, we're going to work out our marriage. And that was it. Just like that. 5 months into a relationship where it's like planning life together and future and all that, like Bye-bye.
Oh.
And acted in a very actually narcissistic fashion, but supposedly he's the one, and I met friends and all that, so it wasn't like they weren't separated. It wasn't that. It's not like I was like he was having a double life.
Right.
I mean, it was a little double in that, you know, he was living there, but it was one that I knew of. He was living there, they were separated, I met friends, kids knew about me and all that. So, and just like that, bye. So, you know, and when we talk about like narcissistic abuse by proxy, that's what I kind of see it as. She sort of manipulated him, and then through him, I was like discarded. Do you see what I'm saying? I kind
of
and then that day it was like she put up married on her Facebook, and you know, it was like she made sure to like say he's mine, even though she didn't even want him, right? Hoovered him effectively, the whole thing. What a learning experience that was.
This whole story, I haven't been like, how could you, Rebecca? Not at all. I mean, anybody would. No, it's not sweet. It's like I could see myself in the same situation. And remember, like at the beginning, we don't think that people would lie to us. We want to believe them and trust them and think they're doing the right thing. And so it's like we're right on the same page. You know, we know how expensive divorce is. People sometimes stay in the home together. They are separate. Like, why wouldn't you believe? Why would you ever assume that he's still with his wife, especially if the kids knew you met friends? Like,
wasn't with her until he found out about. Then it was like they had a 4-hour conversation, and then that was it. He was like, she apologized. Isn't that nice of her? So, you know, like we talk about hoovering, like, you know, and I was like, wow, you're a lot sicker and more broken than I ever thought. Because I know if I had somebody at the end of my marriage who's like, I'm here, I you know, want to be with you. I mean, that would have made it much easier for me to leave. But it's interesting that somebody decides to choose that and then actually thinks it's going to be better or different, you know?
Yeah.
You know, good.
Yeah. Well,
that, you know, but
yeah, let's see what happens with that.
It's a good experience. Honestly, it's a good experience for me to have had. I mean, very painful, but it's a good one because it taught me some very, very like difficult lessons, but you know, I'm in a better place now. So
good. Yeah. So I was thinking, like, we have one person in particular I wanted to ask you what you think about their situation. So they had like a very like a best friend that they met, you know, through the kids, I think, and became very, very close. And this was one of, if any, maybe just the one or maybe two people that she confided in about what was going on in the marriage and the divorce, like deep confidences. And then after the split happened, the best friend became really close with her ex-husband. And then now he's hanging out with her and her family. And so the kids are friends. And how do you navigate something like that when the kids are friends, but they were friends because the moms were friends, but now the friend is friends with the dad, and it's like he's like her ex has taken her place in that family. Like, how does somebody deal with that? Because the kids are still friends.
Yeah, that's devastating. I know of something very similar to that, but the person actually is like together with them romantically.
Oh, that's a whole other thing too.
Yeah, no, so that's not the case here. It's not a romantic thing.
No, not romantic. It's almost like the female best friend got kicked out, and now her ex-husband is close with her old female best friend and the best friend's husband, and the kids are friends.
I can't help but wonder, I mean, is that best friend married?
The best friend is married to a guy, and the guy is friends with both of them. The ex.
Oh, God.
I feel like I need to draw a diagram. Yeah. So, like, she was close to the wife, and now her ex-husband is close to the wife and the wife's husband.
I mean,
it's almost like they believe his story now, and she's just like, I can't believe, like, the devastation of, like, I confided everything to this woman.
Yes.
And now not only did she just not pick sides, but she chose my ex, who she knew all this stuff for a couple of years, what was happening. Like, she's the one person. And now this, and we're still kind of tied together because the kids are friends. So the birthday parties. And then, you know, because there's a custody thing, like you can't just not take the kid to the birthday party and then, you know.
That is horrible. Because, I mean, look, it's another, like, of course, one absolute betrayal trauma, but it's also now like this it's an ongoing, it's stacked on top of the trauma she already had with her ex. You know, and I imagine make her feel so much more hypervigilant and worried about even creating relationships in the future. But she's not really friends with this person anymore now, right? She's boundaried and doesn't talk to them.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, you know, when you see someone, you have to keep seeing them.
I mean, I feel awful for her. I mean, you know, I wonder too with things like that, if it's, you know, would be helpful for her to also consider like doing like some EMDR and things like that, like kind of doing some, because like there's some real deep complex post-traumatic stress disorder stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's really, really layered. And to be so betrayed by a friend like that, I honestly feel like in some ways, I know this is going to sound really weird, but I almost feel like you can expect to be betrayed by a romantic partner more than a friend. I mean, that's what I think is also the thing. I kind of feel like it surprises me more when a friend betrays you to that degree than when a romantic partner does. I'm not really sure.
Isn't that interesting? That's interesting. Have you ever heard the book The Friend That Got Away?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's an anthology. It's not like the newest book, but it's excellent. But it's stories of people losing their best friends. And how it happens. And some of them are through betrayal trauma. And some of it's just natural, but stories of friendships ending. But often you think about with women in particular, and I know in my own experience, the best friends that I had when I was little through like the beginning of high school, that relationship was more intense than most of my romantic relationships. That like best friendship where you tell each other everything and sleepovers and stuff. And when those things end, it's like, it's just devastating in some way. I mean, depending on how it ends.
Right. I absolutely think that. I think, you know, it's all sharing all those different stages with people. And like you said, all the secrets and the trust, you know, it's so devastating. And that example you gave of your friend is so incredibly painful. I mean, she must be experiencing so much grief and like, and feeling obviously traumatized once again, you know? And then you kind of have to start to wonder what's up with the friend, like what's going on with, you know?
Yeah. Like how could people do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it does make you wonder too, when people do that, like their own set of issues that they must have. And, you have to believe that's showing up in some other areas of their life. Like, are they somebody who tends to sort of like, you know, side with toxic people in other areas? You gotta think it's gotta be true, because that is just, or I'm wondering too, is there any manipulation on the part of the best friend's husband?
Oh, maybe. Like I'm thinking maybe he's friends with the ex-husband and for the male bond, and it's like, oh, she's the one who's crazy.
Right. So I wonder if some manipulation by the best friend's husband that's interfering, and she's submitting to kind of that because of and she feels like, well, I've got to keep my allegiance to my,
almost like to my husband, because he's friends with the guy. And
I wonder,
forget
if that's true, but like I'm just trying to, because it makes you sort of do what I'm doing, which is like, wait, how could that, maybe is it this? Like, you know, it's the thing that I'm doing. The thing I'm doing is probably what she's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of like trying to make sense of it all, like how someone could betray you to that degree. Because
and the whole thing. Go ahead.
I think it's because also you're at your weakest and most vulnerable. You're at your rawest, right? When you're coming out of an abusive relationship, and then you confide all that in somebody, and then that person goes and is best friends with. That is just like, that is I can't even. It's almost like you can't even imagine something worse, like, or like someone killing your dog or something. Like I mean, it's just awful. Like, who does that?
Well, actually, now that you're saying, I'm thinking who else does it, which is really bad. Is when the ex convinces the family.
Yes.
So the victim's family, that the victim is the crazy one, they're the bad one, and the family sides with the abuser.
Okay, well, look, and when that happens to me, there is no doubt whatsoever. Oh, well, I shouldn't say that because you shouldn't go with the extreme statements, but there's got to be childhood trauma there, because how can someone do that I mean, there has to be something very broken in that family to side with the abuser. Like, is there like some narcissistic abuse going on there? Is one of the parents a narcissist? Is one of the parents borderline? Mm-hmm. I don't know, but there's got to be something happening there to literally side with the abuser and to discard your own child that way.
I know.
Has to be going on there. That was there way before the end of that marriage.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So thinking about that, like what you said about betrayal, almost expecting it more from a romantic partner versus a friend.
I don't know
and in
why
some ways,
that, but I kind of
but because we just do. Well, we think about loyalty. You think your friends are going to be loyal. Your family is going to be loyal. Like when your romances come and go, but you're going to have this solid core of people in your life. And so when relationship ends, a romantic one, and then there goes some of the close friends, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What can I count on if I can't count on these people?
Exactly. And that's why betrayal trauma is so awful, because it's not enemies, it's friends. It's people that you've actually trusted.
Yeah.
And that betrayal that you're discussing with your friend is probably one of the worst. Or like the one that I told you about, the person who knew all the secrets and then moved in with the person and they're like together. Like, I mean, there's like almost, you can't even, because all the other thing too is it's the trauma that you imagine is continuing, because you imagine also the things they must be saying about you, the secrets that I told this person, they must be just private times, or laughing at me or whatever.
Exactly.
Imagine a world of these things happening, and it almost feels like the trauma is continuing, even if you don't really know what's being said.
Exactly. I mean, it's almost worse because you're in this limbo of like, I don't know what's happening.
Correct. Yeah.
But it must be awful, because we always awfulize and think it's the worst ever.
Yes. Oh my God.
I know.
Feel for her.
Heavy.
Gets the good support she needs. She's lucky to have you as a friend. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm also wondering, so say when this happens, when we experience betrayal trauma with friends, like you think about betrayal trauma in a relationship, what makes it so bad is you stop trusting yourself. Mm-hmm. And with a friend, it's almost on another level, because it's like, not only did I have poor judgment in my ex, but I chose bad friends. These people, did they never care for me? They don't believe me. Maybe something's wrong with me. How can you start to trust yourself after something like this?
Well, I mean, I think just like with getting over, like recovering from abuse, right? We educate ourselves. Like part of what we're doing is that, you do your own work, your self-worth. It's almost like the same as like jumping into like the dating pool again. It's like, it's not, because in the end, it's really not about, maybe this sounds cliche. I don't know that it's necessarily about trusting other people as it is about trusting yourself. Mm-hmm. That you will make good decisions for yourself, and knowing who you are, what you bring to the table, knowing how to effectively cope as best as you can. I mean, a lot of times we need to learn those things through EMDR or other things, or a therapist or a coach or whatever it is.
Okay, therapist, all that's like therapy stuff.
Yeah. And then I think on top of it, it's like, it's just as you might with dating, it's like keeping it light, vetting people, letting them, friends and romantic people alike, kind of audition for you. I don't mean in an arrogant way.
I love that. Yeah.
But the idea,
no, really,
are you good enough for me? Like, like friend wise, romantic, whatever.
Right.
Like, and that when you start to see red flags, I mean, maybe you don't want to, sometimes we're too quick to like throw someone away too quickly after such trauma. We might be like, oh, they did that. that's it. Fuck them.
Oh, that's a whole other conversation we can talk about. That's an interesting one.
But I don't think we should do that. We want to, I mean, of course, there's certain things that I'm sure that are very much like, yeah, that's a one and done. But you want to be able to recognize red flags and know when to say next. Let someone go more quickly, right? Now, look, a lot of these people, like with these friends, if they've been friends a long time and you haven't seen it, and we often don't, right? We often don't see people show their true colors for a long time. So they already have their hooks in us. Like they're already in our heart, in our body. Like we already have them in our, psyche and everything else. It's hard to release them, but it's kind of getting better at I think what it does in a way, and I mean, to be honest with you, I think it does harden us a little bit. I think the truth is, in reality, I don't think it's always, in the world we live in, I don't know that we can't always be soft. I don't think we can be. I think you have to sort of like be mindful. I mean, I have a lot of fun in my life, and I pleasure and all that. That's so important to me, and relationships. But there is a part of me that's like, now at least, where it's like, well, let's see, like I'm not, let's see what happens. Cause I don't know, and I think I used to be scared to say that with romantic relationships, especially like, well, let's see. If someone would say that to me, I'd be like, no, I don't want to see. No, it's good. It's good. Like, cause it was like the idea of I have to lock it in. But I think the truth of the matter is relationships do come and go, and you don't know. But when you do know that something's not right for you, we have to be better at knowing how to release it,
Yeah. So important. Like learning to let go of people.
Yeah.
Even friends.
Yeah.
And it's painful. Like there are no simple answers. Like, oh, if you do it this way, it's going to feel better. I think it's always going to be a grieving process.
Yeah. I mean, I had a friend who was actually, sorry, I dropped my phone. I had a friend who was actually, pretty narcissistic, and I'm not friends with her anymore. And I would say that ending was almost more difficult than some of my breakups from romantic relationships. It was very hard to let it go. It was like strangely, it was incredibly painful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right, I'm glancing at the time and I'm like, oh, here we are an hour later practically.
Yes.
As usual. So Rebecca, thanks so much. And how can people find you if they want to talk more about this or sex or addiction or getting help with anything therapy-wise?
Well, I have my website is RebeccaIshida.com. My Instagram is Rebecca_Ishida, and then I'm on TikTok at Rebecca Ishida. So, yeah, and I would love to do this again, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you. So I'm definitely, and now I've got a lot of leeway, like a lot of time to, like, we can plan it out, and I can't wait.
Good, me too. All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay, and I'd love to do this again soon too.
All right, let's plan it.
Okay.
Let's get right into the DM and plan it.
Cool. All right, great
All
seeing
right, bye.
you. Had
Bye, you too.
for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.